after spending 4,000 crystals to get Leon's new drip. He is the recent and newest SP unit in the global side, and I'm pretty sure CN side, I think over there, I haven't really been keeping up with them lately, so I'm not entirely sure yet. And I gotta say that Leon was already a pretty solid unit, and of course with the SP form, it made him even better, allowing him to perform a new type of playstyle that really makes him deadly. So if we take a look at his new talent, he ignores skill cost. His damage increases and his physical damage taken is decreased, but it is doubled when actively attacking. He can bypass enemy units, and after attacking, he can still move 3 blocks, and after taking action, all the blocks that he passes by will be turned into a special terrain effect called Netherflame for 2 turns. And what it does is that when an enemy moves onto this terrain, after they take action, they will take fixed damage for 1 times of his own attack, and giving them a debuff that reduces their damage by 20% for 2 turns. A really good upgrade. Being able to ignore skill cost is gonna be really nice, but this also removes how limited his damage was, since in his normal form, his damage scales based on the number of blocks that he moves, as well as his defense. So with this upgrade, that is no longer necessary and possibly a little bit more physically tanky. And the newest addition to his talent is the tile that he creates, which does increase his offensive capabilities while providing a really good debuff too. For the class Mastery Stone, you want HP and attack for all of them, however the armor you want defense and headwear match defense, while the weapon and accessory could be skill. But in PvP, you can maybe do a skill for both of the armor and headwear so that you do more skill damage. Then for the Arena Stone, if you care about damage, then you want a offensive set like mine, or you can go with a defensive set if you want him to survive stuff. Best soldiers to use are the Werewolf for about anything. Great attack stat and the defense are quite high as well. But the main thing about them is that they can heal for a fixed amount of HP. And they themselves have a really high HP stat as well, making the survivability really good. Only thing that you gotta be careful with is holy units. Angels are not bad, especially against magic attackers, but honestly, you could just stick with the werewolf anyways, because mainly of the self-heal. Unless you know that you're gonna be up against holy units, then the angels are there as an option. Then lastly, the mechanical knights. Mainly in PvP, you're going to be making the most out of them for those extra mobility, so that you can have that positional offensive advantage. Now you guys' favorite part, the recommended equips. Starting off with this weapon, the balance blade only for PvP, so that you can have more range with this AoEs. But for regular content or anything else, you can use the routing light, which does more damage the more blocks that you move, while making the enemy unable to guard. But anything else you can give him is fine, like the blue star, which is just a budget version of the routing light, or you can go with a classic, the sealed guardian. A few of you guys may argue Bloodsword or Demon Slayer for AoEs. They don't sound too terrible, but the thing about that is that his AoEs have terrible range, which is why I really recommend the Balance Blade if that's the case. But if you want to use something else, then you can really get away with that, but you may struggle a little bit without that Balance Blade. But at the end of the day, I'm just giving you guys what his recommended equips are in certain situations. So it's really up to you what you guys prefer. For the armor, you can get rid of his exclusive if you want to, so that you can use something else that gives him more survivability, like the Aeolus, Forbidden Battle Armor, Time Mat. The Time Mat might be a weird one to use for PvP, since you do need to be in mixed forces to take less magic damage, and there are going to be certain situations where you are going to be using the Mechanical Knights. So I would really recommend using either one of the first two that I mentioned. You can still make his exclusive work, which just allows you to have much more better movement, especially with this new command skill, which is all there is to it with this one. So the choice is really up to you. For the helmet, the Inferior tier for more skill damage, but if you don't have the Inferior tier, you can go with the Aeneas helm for more stats. As for the accessory, any attack increase that lets him do more damage against a certain class type, like the Judge Talisman, I would really recommend, but I would lean more towards to the Judge Talisman, considering how commonly often holy units are. Winged Shin Guard can work so that he can be more physically tanky, or the Overlord's Badge, to prevent stat loss, so that if he ever gets his attack reduced, it will prevent his high one-shot potential. Then for the enchant that you want, Full Moon, so that he does more damage with his tiles, since with the 4-piece, it will increase his stats. Breeze, so that you have a greater amount of mobility. Some other ones I want to mention are Magic and Clock. Magic is not really necessary because Leon already has a really strong killing potential and this thing doesn't work with his tiles. But I can honestly see this working. As for Clock, he has a high killing potential, so it's going to be really unnecessary. As I saying Magic the only one that you can really get away with. As for PvE, I would just use Rough Sea. It's a really good enchant for single target attackers, mainly in regular content, or go with Breeze. Alright, so hopefully that helped give you guys an idea on how to build SP Leon or Leon in general. I don't think this showcase will be that complicated to understand, but I'm here to give you guys an in-depth explanation on what he's like and how he is played. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go right into his showcase. So with SP Leon, his talent's pretty normal. Damage dealt increase with physical damage reduction, which is doubled when actively attacking, which is pretty nice. He's able to pass through enemies and move 3 blocks afterwards, which is really nice, while also creating tile effects. That gives a pretty good debuff. Him being able to bypass enemies will make his mobility really insane, and then once he ends his turn, he places his tile effects. The main thing I want to go over is his command effect. As long as he has it, all friendly cavalry units, which includes him as well, will have their attack and int be increased, but when fighting against lancers, their attack are increased, but when up against infantry, they attack first. And as long as Leon does have his exclusive equipment, all cavalry units have the Remastered ability. And then for the passive, the more block that you move, the more damage that you do with your normal attack, which is alright I guess. So we have Scott right here. You can see that he can move through water terrain pretty easily, no problem whatsoever. And same thing with Caroline, she can move through the forest tile no problem at all. And despite having the mechanical knights, we still get that extra mobility moving through the forest tiles since they mitigate through defensive tiles. Something to keep in mind when it comes to his incredible mobility. It's going to be a really strong command effect to really carry with them, as it really does increase that attack heavily, especially since it does help increase the tile damage. And I wish instead of having that damage increase to lancers, that instead it would increase the defense. It just feels a bit weird considering that cavalry units have like a 40% damage reduction against lancer units, so they aren't going to be doing a whole lot of damage in the first place. So them having that physical reduction would really help. And then his new AoEs, it attacks enemies within 2 blocks around Leon, but with the balance blade, it should be 3, while inflicting heal block to only infantry units for 2 turns, while also applying his tile effect. So this is a really strong skill. It has a really good damage multiplier, and it should apply the heal. I should have expected that. So yeah, like I was saying, a really strong damage multiplier while applying 2 debuffs on infantry because of the heal block and the damage reduction from the tile. The tile effect should hit right away as soon as he does use the AoE, and then afterwards he is able to move 3 blocks again due to his talent, and when he does move again, he can still apply his tile effect, doing some additional damage. Oh, and be warned that this fixed damage can be immunized, which is the only thing that really sucks. So overall, SP Leon does not disappoint. He is what you expect him to be, a crazy attacker with so much damage built into his kit. I definitely still really love that he still gets to keep moving 3 blocks after he attacks. Gonna be really nice for repositioning and attacking again with his towel, with a criminally good debuff from that. Pretty much, his SP form obviously gives him better stats, but the main point that really makes him better is that his damage increase from his talent is no longer limited based on his movement. He is offensively better due to his tile effect, lots of damage increase in his kit, and most notably, he can now function as a AoE attacker. His 3C is going to be used to disrupt the opponent's position, making them very vulnerable, and his new one has a really strong killing potential since it does mix in his tiles for extra damage. And it's going to be really threatening against Jintoki because it does apply heal block. And Leon can actually one-shot Jintoki, but even if Jintoki does have his stacks, it's going to be hitting really hard. Maybe a one-shot even with those stacks, maybe not. I would say for PvE enjoyers, that getting his SP form will be unnecessary since there's a lot of situations where AoEs are not needed, but I guess extra stats are nice. but he's completely fine without it if it's just for regular content. But for stuff where you need fixed damage, SP Leon will be really good for those. There we go. That was SP Leon's showcase. You're definitely going to find a lot of value bringing him in for whatever it may be. In PvP, his new playstyle really makes him so phenomenal, with his high killing potential while applying great pressure to worry about, with his mobility that's really hard to avoid, and his damage capability. In PvE, the same reason as before that I mentioned, just better stats and great for fixed damage. If anything, I would rather get someone like SP Sherry if you have her, since it does make her mechanically better, since it makes her act again more consistent. And then afterwards, you can maybe do someone like Elwyn, since it greatly enhances his mobility, his offensive capability, and gives him a revive. But that's all I have to say. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and feel free to let me know down in the comments what you guys think about SP Leon and how you guys been enjoying him. But yeah, thanks for watching. Your fellow Z.